Despite coordinated international sanctions and aggressive domain takedowns, the demand for decentralized cryptocurrency mixers hasn't disappeared. Illicit actors and privacy advocates alike are still moving billions through these protocols. When authorities shut down one major privacy service, users don't stop mixing funds. They simply migrate. It's a digital game of whack-a-mole. Crush one node, and three more instantly light up to take its place. This chart shows the volume of deposits in Tornado Cash. Following recent legal shifts in the US and the lifting of certain sanctions, we see a massive resurgence, with deposits spiking past $1.8 billion in early 2025. On paper, Tornado Cash relies on highly advanced cryptography. It uses zero-knowledge proofs to construct a mathematically unbreakable wall between the sender's address and the receiver's address. But to trace these funds, forensic analysts and law enforcement agencies do not actually need to break that underlying cryptography. Instead, they exploit the vulnerabilities around it: human behavioral patterns and network metadata. Perfect mathematical privacy is useless if the user makes a single operational mistake. True anonymity requires flawless execution off-chain, making it incredibly elusive in practice. To understand how this tracking works, we first have to build the shield. On a public blockchain like Ethereum, every transaction, wallet address, and transfer amount is permanently visible to anyone. Tornado Cash solves this transparency problem starting right in the user's browser, which generates two massive, completely random numbers called a secret and a nullifier. This diagram shows the hashing process. Private inputs combine through a mathematical function to produce a cryptographic fingerprint, a commitment. The user sends one ETH to the smart contract with that fingerprint. This commitment is the only publicly shared data. This tree structure shows how individual deposits form an anonymity set. The user's fingerprint becomes just one single orange node, completely hidden among thousands of identical blue nodes representing everyone else's deposits. When it's time to withdraw, the user faces a strict logical challenge. They must prove to the smart contract that they own one of those valid deposits, but they cannot reveal exactly which one is theirs. This is where zero-knowledge proofs, specifically ZK snarks, come in. They provide a purely mathematical solution to this exact problem. This flowchart illustrates the withdrawal proof process. Off-chain, the browser generates a proof verifying the inputs correspond to a valid Merkle tree path. To prevent double spending, the smart contract logs a hash of the nullifier. It knows money was taken, not by who. As long as this cryptographic layer operates exactly as coded, the deterministic on-chain link between the original sending address and the new receiving address is perfectly, irreversibly severed. But code doesn't execute in a vacuum. To actually use the blockchain, you have to interact with physical internet infrastructure, and that is where human operational security begins to break down. Most everyday users do not run their own Ethereum node. Instead, their wallets connect to the network by routing data through third-party remote procedure call, or RPC, providers like Infura or Alchemy. This graphic demonstrates the network leak. RPC providers act as internet service providers. If a user deposits and later withdraws from the exact same IP address, the provider logs both events. The blockchain sees zero-knowledge math, but the server sees the exact same computer. These centralized infrastructure companies are legally bound to comply with law enforcement. When served with a subpoena, they hand over those IP logs and metadata. The most sophisticated zero-knowledge cryptography ever designed is instantly bypassed if the user fails to practice basic operational security at the physical network layer. So what happens if a target is sophisticated? What if they use Tor, manage independent IP addresses, and generate completely fresh wallets? Can they still be tracked? Yes. Investigators achieve this by abandoning deterministic proof entirely. Instead, they turn to high-probability statistical modeling derived directly from human behavior. This model shows algorithmic timeline analysis. Forensic firms map deposit timestamps, using a sliding search window to scan for withdrawals below. They measure the time spread, how tightly clustered actions are, and the time gap, exactly how long a user waits before withdrawing. Human impatience is a massive vulnerability. Users rarely wait long enough for their funds to adequately blend into the larger pool, drastically shrinking the actual anonymity set. This equation is the adaptive exponential decay model. It calculates the probability a deposit matches a withdrawal over time. Assigning a base weight, breaking sums into specific chunks flags a near 100% match probability, while single transactions carry drastically reduced weight. That artificial penalty on single, isolated transactions is crucial. Investigators mathematically suppress the probability of simple one-off transfers to prevent false positives and protect the data of innocent users. This graph highlights the entropy floor. When a behavioral pattern is highly specific, its probability score stops decaying. If someone deposits 8.1 ETH and 2 10 ETH transactions, the chance of a random match is virtually zero. It is statistically guaranteed forever. By chunking funds in recognizable ways, users leave a permanent, statistically identifiable fingerprint. That behavioral pattern completely overrides the cryptographic veil. We are left with a conflict between a clean, perfectly ordered cryptographic system and the chaotic, highly probabilistic nature of human behavior. Chain analysis firms and law enforcement agencies are not cracking zero-knowledge proofs. They aren't breaking the blockchain's core encryption at all. They are simply measuring the single transaction penalty, identifying low-entropy behavioral clusters, and mapping IP leakages at the network layer. This principle extends far beyond just cryptocurrency. It applies to the entire landscape of digital privacy tools and anonymization networks. A privacy protocol is only ever as strong as the user's practical execution in the real world. Every routine digital interaction, every lazy network ping, and every impatient transfer degrades that theoretical privacy exponentially. In the modern landscape of digital forensics, the cryptographic black box doesn't need to be broken. It is effectively transparent, provided you know exactly how to measure the shadow the user casts outside of it.